Okay, brilliant. That's 2 minutes past 8. So we're just going to go ahead and kick off. First of all, I'd like to start by saying a massive thank you to you all for sacrificing your Monday evenings to be with us today to learn all about how to make our CV stand out. If you're anything like me and you've set some amazing career goals as part of your New Year's resolutions, I'm so excited that we've been able to create this opportunity to hear from the amazing Tina Marfo, who will be sharing some awesome hints and tips. As always, I've got my notebook ready, so I hope you've all got your notebooks ready because I'm sure there'll be some amazing nuggets and gems that will be shared. But before we go ahead and introduce the lovely Tina, I would like to start by giving a bit of a brief overview into Excellerate Black Futures for those who are joining us for the first time. So if it's your first time with us, we're so pleased to welcome you to your first Excellerate event. I can see a couple of familiar names, so for those who are joining us again, welcome back. Excellerate Black Futures is all about educating Black professionals, students and graduates, and equipping each other with the tools, role models, and knowledge that we all need to excel in and accelerate our careers. And we're all about doing this through our four main pillars. So the first is education, equipping people with really practical knowledge and tools to help you excel. We aim to inspire confidence. A lot of people say that they don't know that they can progress because they don't see role models who look like them in the positions they want to get into. So we're all about bringing phenomenal, inspirational role models and allies who are at their career peak to come and share their highs and lows with us to enable us to be inspired to take action. We're also all about practical tools. So we don't just like to share knowledge, but we like you to take something really tangible to take back and do something differently. But over and above all of those things, we like to be able to give back. So most of our scale up events, one of which you are at now, are free. And also we've got a career accelerator program, which is also free because we're really passionate about giving into our community. But we also expect you to give back. So if you love this session, it's being recorded. So make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to share the recording with someone that it will benefit because we're all about giving back as much as possible. I'd just like to just give a bit of a brief overview into the types of events we run for those who are joining us the first time. So we have inspirational series, which is all about bringing people together who are sharing their career highs and lows. And then we have educational sessions, one of which today is one, which is very practical with great, I guess, really practical tools that people can take and really kind of move forward and do something amazing with their career. So if this is your first time joining us, you'll be signed onto our community and you'll receive information about future events. So please do stay close to receive more information. So I won't spend too much time talking. I am so pleased to welcome our speaker for today, the amazing Tina Marfo, who is a HR expert, talent and development expert with over 15 years of expertise, really helping people through coaching and designing phenomenal interventions to help people grow in their careers. So I won't take too much of Tina's thunder as she comes on to give herself an even better introduction than what I've done so far, and to share more information around how you can also make your CV stand out as you aim to achieve your career goals this year. So welcome, Tina, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Winnie, and welcome once again, everyone, for joining us. We're really excited to be here. And as Winnie introduced, I have been in the world of development and really helping people to be the best versions of themselves for the good past 15 years now. And I absolutely love mentoring, coaching, and really helping people to gain their new roles, promotions, whatever it may be. I'm all about developing people. You're probably asking, what is the secret? Well, there isn't any secret, but what I do hope in the next 40 minutes or so is to be able, as Winnie said, give you really practical takeaways for you to apply in order for you to stand out when it comes to your CV and land that job. Now, before we start, I'm conscious that, all of you here today, that you are on different stages of your career journey. And so I'd like us to do a little poll so that we can see where you're at. This is so that I can really make sure that I tailor the guidance and the practical tips to suit the career stage that you're at. So with that, then, if we can please cue the poll. And really what we're trying to find out is, What stage of your career journey are you at? I'm conscious that some of you may have just finished as grads and you're looking for your first role. You may actually have been in the career ladder, but in a junior level and trying to move on to the middle, or you're in the middle career level, or you may well be in your senior level. And in some cases, some people are looking to change careers in terms of the job role itself, or even an industry change. And some have taken time out, maternity returners, looking after the family, or sabbatical, whatever it may be. So yeah, if you can please answer there. I'm just going to give it a few seconds, and then we can see. I can see so far mid-seniors are coming up as top with 50% there, followed by 30% of those wanting a career or an industry change. And then we do have 20% who are grads. So this is really useful. We don't actually have anyone in the junior to mid-career levels, but that is fine. I'm really pleased you've been able to answer that for us. So with that then, we've got just an update on the poll, just a little update. Okay, no, it's fine. Okay, with that then, fantastic. I think we have 83% that have participated, so that is fine. I think we've got it's given you a really good overview of where you're all at. So with that then, let's actually progress onto the slide. So there are a number of myths about CVs and what it should be or what it should look like. So I'm just going to take you through some of those myths. The first one is one size fits all, and we're all very much, if you like, guilty of this, where you apply for jobs and you just send one standard CV across the board. This will not do. You have to remember that recruiters are busy. They're really busy people, and they're really looking for people that are going to stand out in terms of fitting the criteria that they're looking for. So it's important that you tailor your CV to suit. One size does not fit all. A second myth is that actually I'm going to include everything about myself on the CV, everything I've ever done. Again, that's a myth, because what you do want to do there is be selective and include what's relevant for the role. You can see so far there's a pattern here. It's all about tailoring to suit the job you are applying for. The other myth we have there is that actually typos are expected. It's not a big deal, it's fine. And grammar can also be not great, it's fine. Actually, recruiters notice all of that, and it just makes your CV look so unprofessional that they just roll over and on to the next applicant that has applied. So it's super, super important that you take the time, proofread, give it to someone else to look at it with a fresh pair of eyes and make sure that there are no typos or anything in there. Super, super important. The other piece is actually, I can actually embellish a little bit, tell a bit of white lies here and there. No one would know. But you know what? If you do that, you will get caught out at some point, especially in the interviews, when you do have to elaborate in detail about what you have done. And if you've embellished, you've exaggerated what you've put on your CV, it's going to catch up with you. You do not need to lie on your CV in order for you to land that job. Another myth is actually, I need it to look amazing. I need it to look very pretty. Again, you're spending a lot of time on the design. Yes, it does need to look professional, does need to look good. And you can do this by choosing simple fonts and professional looking fonts, but you don't have to spend hours on the design. It's all about the content. That's what matters here. And we're going to take you through what that content would look like. Okay, and with that then, I'm now going to move us on to really what your CV should look like. And I'd say here that it's a sales and marketing tool. And the reason why I say that is when we look at, for example, these brands, and you can see that we have a whole array of brands from Cadbury's to Coca-Cola, Google, Microsoft. We all know what they stand for. Why? Because these companies spend a lot of time marketing who they are, what they're about, the benefits. And we know them, we get them, we see the brand, we know what they're about. Likewise, for you, you need to grab a massive megaphone and shout loud about who you are. You need to shout out loud about your achievements. No one's going to blow your trumpet. You need to blow your own trumpet, essentially, is what we're saying. We can be often too timid and not blow our trumpets about what our achievements are, what our skills are, our strengths, what we're known for, and ultimately our unique selling point, our USP. That needs to come out loud and strong and unapologetically on your CV. And even adding testimonials, that's also a massive way of selling yourself. People don't buy a product because, oh, the product is great. It's what people are saying about them. So likewise, you need to be able to showcase to the recruiter or the hiring manager what you're about, what your core USP is, and what your values are. Without this, you're not going to stand out of the crowd. And the recruiter, as I said, they're time poor. You're competing with so many other competitors. You do need to be able to make sure that yours stands out strongly. Ultimately, you want to tell the employer the value you're going to bring to the company. That's all they're interested in. What is the value? And if you don't tell them on your CV, then they won't know. And if they don't know, they're not going to call you in for the interview. So before we delve in, it's important that we take a look at the formats and the different formats of CVs, because quite often people ask me, what should my CV look like? How should it look? Now, the majority of you on the call today, from the poll we just did, you are in your mid to senior career levels. And with that, I mean, typically the chronological CV is the most popular one, even across the board generally. For those who are, for example, starting the grads, the 20% that said they're grads, typically really is the skills-based functional CV that works. Now, what do we mean by chronological CV? Now, your chronological CV effectively, it's the type that lists your experience, but in reverse chronological order with the most recent work listed first. It includes obviously the organization, your job titles, your skills, and your responsibilities. And this is really great for attracting attention with your objective in order to secure a similar role or something previous to what you've done, or even in some cases as a promotion as you move through your career ladder. It's very easy to read, it's logical, it's familiar. A lot of recruiters are used to this format. And it just really showcases your career progression as well, and it highlights any increases in your level of responsibilities. Now, it does have its limitations. This means that, sometimes your skills and achievements may be lost within the context of it, particularly if you want to showcase more historical ones, then it's difficult to do that. It may be more challenging also for the recruiter to identify the connections between the skills used in the past and some of the future potentials and the transferable skills that you may not have demonstrated or actually done as part of your previous roles. It's really difficult to get that across to the recruiter. And also sometimes with this type of chronological CV format, gaps or short periods in employment can be really obvious because, it's going in date order. And if there's a gap, then the recruiter's thinking, what was this person doing in that period? Now, the second version, which typically is really quite useful, which is the skills-based or functional CV for those who are entering the career market. Now, this typically describes the skills and achievements under specific headings rather than the employment history on one page. Now, this CV typically emphasizes your key strengths, your functional capability, and also your transferable skills, unlike the chronological ones. And really, what's good about this is you can, for example, choose competencies like leadership, commercial awareness, customer focus, project management, and so on. You can really hone in on that and look at the job spec and say, you're looking for this skill, Mr. Recruiter, and I have it here. And boom, 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 there you go. So it can really work and be fantastic from that perspective. So on that type of CV as well, once you've done your functional specific skills, the next page is just a list of the roles you undertook without the detail as you would see in a chronological. Now, this CV, as I said, is great for graduate school leavers who don't have much experience and they can demonstrate the transferable skills they possess. And really, what this can also do is, what's good about this approach is similar experience gained in a selection of different and previous roles can be included under your competency, and it just avoids repetition, enabling you to have a much stronger, tighter, and succinct message. So you can see the pros and cons of both. Now, there are other, apart from the skills-based functional CV, there are other types. The other types I'm going to talk about is the combination of both, so the chronological and the skills-based one. And this one is one of my favorites, in all honesty, because you're getting the best of both worlds, whereby you're targeting upfront what your achievements are, and you've been very succinct with your competencies, aligning it to the job description. But at the same time, you're able to actually showcase what you've done in terms of the chronological aspects of your CV. So I really like this one. And for the session here, I'm going to give you a flavor of both, of what that combination looks like, so that you can take that away and also decide which one that you do want to apply. There are others. So for example, there's the academic or scientific CV, and that's pretty much for those in the academia world. There's also the portfolio CV, as well as the one-page bio, which is quite typical for obviously people that are, you know, models or what have you, to keep it quite succinct. You've got infograph CVs, that's becoming extremely popular these days. However, it's not very good with the ATS, which is the applicant tracking system, which I'll come on to further on in the session. And then the final one is personal websites, which is actually great, especially for, you know, those who are web designers or what have you, and they want to be able to showcase their work and what that's about. Okay, so with that, let's delve into what a chronological and skills-based combo CV looks like. Okay, so the first section is your personal details. You will see here, you're all familiar with this in terms of your personal details, where, you know, your name, contact details, but also do not forget your LinkedIn and your social handles. It's very, very important that you include those. You then have your personal statement, and this is so crucial because this is where the magic happens. Remember, as I said at the beginning, the recruiter is time poor. This is going to capture their attention. So you need to make this wow. It needs to be pow wow effectively. And if it isn't, this is where you lose the recruiter, that they just don't pay any attention. We're going to delve into that and give you some examples of what that could look like. We're also going to look at your key achievements. Now, this is the piece where the skills functional aspect comes in. So up front, you're saying, Mr. Recruiter, you're looking for X, Y, and Z. Here it is. I've done it. And here's how I can demonstrate I've done it. These are the skills. These are my achievement. Again, we're going to delve into how you can really succinctly craft those achievements and gain the recruiter's attention and interest in order to continue listening to what you're, you know, not listening, but reading onto your CV. And then you've got your experience, which we're all familiar with, followed by your education, hobbies and interest, and references. So this is the high-level overview, and we're just going to delve into every single one of them. We've already covered the personal details, so I don't want to focus too much on that because that's quite straightforward. So what I want us to do now is to go into the pow wow section. And this is where you make it or you break it when it comes to the recruiter looking at your CV. So the pow wow, your personal statement, this essentially is your brand. As I said on the outset, all those brands, Microsoft, Google, Gucci, they have a brand, they have a statement. What is your statement? And this is where you make the impact. Okay, so your personal statement needs to be short, punchy. So not long-winded and not using superficial words like I'm hardworking. Everyone can say they're hardworking. So it needs to align to what the recruiter wants, but it needs to be about you. So this is where the magic is. If you haven't done this before, and this links in with self-awareness, pick about 3 people that know you very well. It could be your boss, your colleagues, your peers, your friends. They know you really, really well, and ask them, what do you stand for? What is it about you that they love? And this is really so that you can actually pick out the pow wow about you. Everyone has a pow wow. We're all unique and we all have pow wows. And if you can actually identify those, that's where you put in, that's what you actually put in your personal statement. What's unique about you? What makes you different from the next person? And that's how you're going to catch the recruiter's attention. It needs to be personalized, relevant to you, no more than 3 to 4 sentences, because otherwise it just becomes too much. And again, you could lose the recruiter's attention, and keep it between the 100 to 50 words. As I've said already, it needs to align to the job description. There are no exceptions, no laziness in terms of one size fits all, as I said earlier. You really need to put in the hard work to actually reap the benefits. So align it to the specific job that you're applying for. And really, essentially, it needs to summarize your credentials and your brand. Now, the typical structure will include who you are. So relevant background, it could be for the 20% who are graduates on the call today, it could be, I'm a graduate. And even more important, you could say, I'm a business graduate, I'm a maths graduate. You need to say who you are. For those mid to senior career people, you could be a finance manager. You need to say, I'm a finance manager. That's who you are. So you need to call that out. And then what you offer is that USP, that unique thing that you've gone out to the 3 or 4 people and asked them what stands out about you. So you need to call out that uniqueness about you, align to the role that you're looking for. And then finally, the third point there is, what can you deliver? Now, companies are interested in what you can provide for them in terms of, what can you contribute to this organization? And also you need to call out, what is the target sector you're looking for? Are you looking to go into the finance industry, or is it the media industry? You need to call it out. What is it? So that instantly the recruiter knows who you are, what you bring to the table, and what you can deliver, and specifically what you're looking for as well. Once they have this and it's aligned to the job spec, they're keen then to read on and carry on. So it's really important that you structure it according to these 3 key points I've just outlined. So with that, I'm going to give you an example of what that could look like depending on what career journey you're in. So for a grad who's just entering the market, having something like this, which I know we're all very much guilty of, I'm a motivated and driven business student looking to gain employment. Now, you're motivated, so are so many other people. So it's almost there. It's telling me who you are and where you want to go into, but you're missing the wow power in terms of your value. Doesn't tell me anything about that. Likewise, for someone in the junior to middle, if you've got something like this as your personal statement, again, you're missing the trick there. And then for those in your mid to senior career levels, you could probably would say, I'm very experienced, I'm dedicated, this is what I do, this is who I am. But again, it's bland. There's no excitement there. You're not telling me your unique selling proposition. So let's actually now look at how you can craft this to gain the recruiter's attention, depending on what stage of your career you're in. So a grad, you would actually say, I'm a recent business economics graduate with a 2-1 honours from X university. I'm looking to secure a graduate commercial analysis position to use and further develop my analytical skills and knowledge in a practical and fast-paced environment. My career goal is to assume a role which allows me to take responsibility for the analysis and interpretation of commercial data and actively contribute to the overall success of a well-respected market-leading company. Now, ultimately, from reading that as a recruiter, I know your USP is you have extremely strong analytical skills. Extremely strong analytical skills. And what you want is to take that into a role, a commercial analysis role that will enable you to do that in a well-respected market-leading company. You have ticked the box in terms of who you are, what you're bringing to the table, and what you're looking for. Likewise, for those in the junior career stages, again, with this second example I've given you, you can tell that, I'm saying, you've demonstrated success. You've done it before. I'm telling you, Mr. Recruiter, I've been able to demonstrate success in coordinating digital marketing life cycle through defining target audiences. And I'm using keywords in the marketing industry, PPC, SEO, content marketing strategies. I'm also talking about the fact that I've got great relationship and communication skills, and I deliver engaging digital marketing and social media solutions. Now, here's the magic here as well, to drive business growth, sales, and performance. As a recruiter, I'm going to be smiling and thinking, yes, this is the kind of person I want. She's got the skills, she's got the right values, and she wants to come and work for this organization to drive the business growth, sales, and performance. And I'm seeing here also is the next step for them is they want to really take up a step up road. So they're looking for their next level in leading digital agency in order to aid their growth. and further develop their digital skill set. So for me, this is a winner compared to the example above. And last but not least, let's look at someone who's very much experienced as a sales manager. And what they're saying here is, ultimately, from the outset in that first sentence, I can see that you've been able to win numerous contracts. Now, as a sales manager, I want you if you're able to win contracts, because that's what your job is about. And then you're telling me about your USP, which is your unique ability to develop client relationship, which has resulted in an increase in business renewals. When I hear that, I'm yes, definitely. And if I'm a tech startup company and you're applying for my role and you're telling me that you want a role in a tech startup and that you're winning contracts and you're able to increase business renewals, then definitely I want to look at your CV and progress it even further. So hopefully this stage in terms of personal statement has given you a really good idea as to what you can put in there, your USP, but more importantly, making sure that it's power wow. Without that power wow factor, you're not going to get any further and you won't be able to land yourself the interview. So remember the 3 core segments: who you are, what you bring to the table, what you're looking for. Okay, with that, let's move on to look at the key skills and achievements. Now, this is again another important section. You need to include a variety of your skills and credentials and achievements that's required for the role. It's super, super important. Again, here you need to keep it punchy and to the point, and you need to use strong action words. And I'm going to come to action words in the next slide so that you can get an idea of some of the action words that you do need to use, just so that you stand out. Again, it needs to align to what's in the job description. You also need to back up your statements, so it's not just I've got leadership skills, end of. You need to back it up using skills, using real life and work examples. For those grads who are just entering the career, the workforce, yes, this section may be a little bit hard in terms of backing it up with evidence, but what you cannot underestimate is the transferable skills you've picked up whilst you were studying. It could be, for example, your coordination, your organization skills. You may have taken up a part-time Saturday job, working in a retail shop somewhere, customer service. You cannot underestimate all those skills. It could be that in your weekends, you actually do some sessions with young people where you're leading them or you're babysitting. All of that shows responsibilities. So you have to sit back and say, okay, I may not have the work experience, but what have I done? And through what I've done, what are the transferable skills I've gained that I can talk about and back it up with those extracurricular activities? You may have been part of the student union, you may have been running the student union. So really be creative and think about all those things to help you. And ultimately, back to your USP again, you need to link your achievements and your skills to the value that you offer, and really explain how your skills will benefit the company. This is where you connect, and it's important that you make it quantifiable. So I've been able to increase employee engagement by X. I've been able to increase sales by X. So you really need to make it as quantifiable as possible. Then it makes sense to the recruiter, and then they're interested to actually say, this person is ticking all the boxes in terms of what I'm looking for. So it's really, really important that your key skills and achievements are explained in this way. So similar to how we did with your brand statement, we're going to take a look at how you can do that as well in detail, depending on what career stage you're in. So as always, let's start with our early careers. Now, again, I'm showing you some of the typical key achievement sections I've come across again and again, where people are just not selling themselves. It's very bland, very simplistic. So looking at the area, early careers, I'm a team player with planning and skill organizations, as well as negotiation skills. Yeah, and the so what? That's the key thing. Yes, you're all of this. And so what? What does this mean for a prospective employer? It means absolutely nothing. Now, how could we make this sound better? Teamwork. Consistently inspired team members to fulfill orders and provided excellent customer services, earned awards for best team player. planning on an organization, achieved the top 5% exam scores in the year group by diligently managing time effectively whilst combining study and part-time work. Negotiation, as chair of the University Archaeological Society, shaped event programs and negotiated a 15% reduction in production cost. Now, ultimately, you can see the difference those 3 bullet points I've just read out will make to a recruiter compared to the one above. It has the so what. I've got these skills, tick. And the so what and how I demonstrated it is here. The impact is 5%, top scores. The impact is reduction in production cost. The so what is so important. If that doesn't come out, again, you're going to lose your recruiter or your hiring manager. It's just going to be meaningless for them. Now let's move on to take a look at those in the junior to mid-careers. At the top there, that's again a very bland example of, yeah, I'm good at selling. I sell to customers. I've got good customer relationship building skills, end of. But you're not telling me the so what. In the 3 bullet points there, we're talking about actually, I've been able to demonstrate my planning and relationship building skills. I'm consistently meeting and challenging my monthly branch financial product sales targets. Not only am I meeting it, I'm challenging it consistently. I'm boosting my networks and I'm identifying key targets. And this has resulted in 90% increase of the business customer base. I've also applied my strong communication and technical skills. And in doing that, I've been able to grow sales significantly to 100K per month. Now, this is ice cream or even the cherry on top for a recruiter. It's like, wow. I need to interview this person. They are killing it. They are doing what I would like to see. So again, you cannot underestimate the so what. It's important you call it out. And last but not least, which is representative of the majority of you on this call today, is those in your mid to senior careers. And because you've gained quite a really good, solid experience, sometimes this section can be quite hard to keep it quite succinct and punchy and to the point. But you really need to take a look at the job spec and pick, 3, 4 key skills that they're looking for and say, okay, throughout my career, what have I done that meets these skills, that can showcase these skills that the recruiter is looking for? Then you need to plot those out and show the so what and the examples. So with this example, this person is a financial manager and they're talking about, managing ongoing monthly financial reports and analysis. That's great. You're just telling me what you do. That's what every finance person do. But, you're not telling me what is the impact and the so what. With the 3 bullet points where we've lifted it significantly, you can see that in here, we're talking about, driving improvements in financial performances and using excellent negotiation and presentation skills. And the so what is, this then generated £15 million cash balance from a debt position. Again, they're saying how they've been consistently inputting large quantities of data into the system, showing that they can actually demonstrate focus and accuracy. So there's someone who has attention to detail and they can deal with large amounts of data. The final bullet point here alludes to actually the fact that this person is able to work under pressure and they're able to still complete with 0 errors. So they've been able to head up monthly management accounts and balance sheets and done this well under pressure with 0 errors. Ultimately, again, this shines. This is what the recruiters want. You have to serve up what they are after, not something opposite. You have to give them what they want in order to get past the gate and get yourself those interviews. So hopefully this has given you an idea as to your key skills and achievements and how you undertake that. Okay, I did promise you that I'm going to show you some of the action words that you can use. So here's a sample of some of them that you can use and try to vary it. Don't keep it the same because otherwise it becomes bland. So if you've led, talk about, headed, operated, steered. If you've actually been responsible for, talk about took charge of. So for students, you may not have, led in this form of work, but you may have led somewhere else. You may have taken charge. Say I took charge of the student union. I produced, I drove, I did this. You may have researched, particularly this is quite important for the grads, you would have researched, you would have analyzed, you would have evaluated, use all of that, those hours of your dissertation, they're all worth it. Bring all of that in to demonstrate what you're capable of and what you can do. So ultimately, so many words you can use here, but make sure you spice it up, make it interesting, and don't keep using the same, if you like, action word again and again. Led. No, it just makes, again, the recruiter doesn't, boost any excitement. So make sure that you mix it up and make it very interesting. So hopefully that's giving you some ideas. And I want to quickly move on to your experience and education. Now, people ask me, do I put my education first or my experience first? It really depends what career stage you're in. If you're new to the workplace, education is always best to put that. That's what you do. But obviously, if you've got experience already, then you start with your experience rather than the qualification. So place most current experience, and also obviously when you get to the education section, place those first up front. And make sure that your job title relates to what the recruiter is after. And you see also that in your, when I cover the ATS section very soon, you see that, the words you put in there is so important. There was an example of someone who actually worked as a station coordinator, which effectively is a PA. It's a title for a PA, and they put in their CV, I'm a station coordinator, applying for a PA job, extensive experience. They didn't get it. They didn't even have a phone call from the recruiter to say, come and have an interview. And so she called up the recruiter, and said, I don't understand why. And then the recruiter said, well, you're a station coordinator and we're looking for people with PA experience. And she said, well, a station coordinator is a PA. It's what the organization calls it. So you must be very conscious of organizational specific job titles, which means nothing to the external world. So make it relatable. So important. Use bullet points to make it easier for the recruiters. And again, always keep it short and succinct. We've already covered the action words. Always use them. And as I've said, dare to be different. When it comes to the education section, remember to include your professional ones as well. Yeah, so not just your formal ones. Any training that you've done, any certifications you've achieved, if it's relevant for the role, definitely include it. And then last but not least, really here, your interest and your references. Now, some people ask me, should I actually talk about my hobbies? I don't know, it could be, I like running and marathon and what have you. Well, you like running a marathon, you're applying for a role in terms of, I don't know, a salesperson. Does it really add value? You have to think about, if I'm going to put my interest in here, it really needs to make a statement about who I am as a person and the value I bring. So it's very, very important that you consider that from that perspective and don't just put on a hobbies and interest just for the sake of it. It really does need to align. So really think about that. It's very important. Outline what motivates you. What motivates you? For me personally, I'm passionate about developing people. That's what motivates me. So in my spare time, I mentor people. I help people look at their CVs. I help people prep for interviews. That's what I do in my spare time. I absolutely love it. That's what interests me. And because of that, I spend a lot of time really researching about various things of, how do you nail the interview? How do you have a great CV? And that's what I do in my spare time. That's what I'm interested in. So really make it connect with the job you're applying for. Otherwise, it's pointless. Again, here, do make sure that you do use bullet points to make it easier for the recruiters. And I cannot overemphasize how it's important to always bring it back to the role. It needs to relate to the role, otherwise it adds no value. Now, this is one of the key other magics that's going to make your CV stand out, what I will encourage everyone to do. Quite often people put references available upon request. There isn't anything wrong with that. Yeah, it's perfectly fine to do that. But really think about this. Yeah, when you apply for a job, your references only comes after they've given you the job. But really, when you think about it, should you not be selling yourself first in order to get that job interview and then get the job offer? If you've got testimonials, those that have been in the career ladder for a while, you've been in the work industry for a while, performance appraisals and feedback, feedback from your bosses, from your peers. They're telling you who you are, what your USP is. If they're comfortable in this being your boss and your peers, why not showcase some of those testimonials? Showcase them, make it stand out. This is where the recruiter is going to really sit up and say, oh, wow, this person's different. And you're being different as well. So this is actually a real feedback that's been gained from someone's boss in terms of the value they bring. And if you read that, and if you have this as your reference at the bottom of your CV, a recruiter will go, oh, wow, this isn't the person just blowing their trumpet. This is someone, head of talent, they've worked with this person, they know they're articulate, they're assertive, and that they have a drive, the drive to implement and make talent initiatives successful. So it's really important to think about using testimonials, those in universities and what have you. Again, testimonials from your teachers, from your lecturers, really seek them to showcase who you are and the uniqueness that you bring, because this is how your CV will stand out from the crowd. This is how you will stand out from the competitors. You've got a powwow brand statement and you finish with a powwow testimonial. You can't go wrong with that. Now, last but not least, I'm going to cover the applicant tracking system. Now, these days, recruiters, many of them are using applicant tracking system for many reasons. It makes their life easier, of course, but it's becoming a really, really popular tool. And really, they use it because, as I've said, they receive so many CVs and it's important for them to be able to filter and sort through them. Now, the ATS is really a software that allows the applications to be effectively managed, and it works by scanning through each CV that's submitted for the vacancy. And it's really a question of picking out the key skills and the key buzzwords. And that's why it's important, as I said earlier, that you look at the job spec when you're creating and crafting your personal brand and your achievements, and you pick out those key words so that the ATS will match it and bring your CV right at the top as most suitable, so that the recruiter will actually take a look at it. Why do employers use the ATS? Well, they use it because effectively it's quicker and it's easier, as I've said, and it just makes life a lot more easier for them. It allows the CVs to be filtered and it makes it quite straightforward. Now, for you, it's important that you think about, as I've said, using key buzzwords in your CV to make it stand out. Without that, it won't work. And you also need to think about the formats of your CV. If you're using things like, different Word, you're not using Word, but a different format, it's going to be difficult, like a PDF, for the ATS to really pick up your key buzzwords. So you need to really think about the file and avoid Mac programs as well. Keep it small in terms of size, and make sure you don't use any graphics or any tables and photos, and it just messes it up and you can't pick up the keywords. So keep it simple, keep it clean, keep it with professional fonts, nothing jazzy that the ATS then gets a bit confused and then can't pick up your key buzzwords. And please, please, please avoid acronyms. Acronyms that you know what they are, but the ATS, because the recruiters keying in certain key buzzwords, they're not using acronyms, your CV is going to fall at the bottom of the pile if you're not using the full words and you're sticking to acronyms. So it's important that you do use the full words and keep it relevant to the job. And last but not least, make sure you do spell check, because if you've got an error in your CV and the recruiter is looking for that key buzzword, your CV again is not going to be at the top of the pile, it's going to be at the bottom. Okay, so I guess one other final key point is, if you haven't heard back from the recruiter, pick up the phone, have a conversation. Don't just say, I've not heard back and that's it. Definitely pick up the phone. And that pretty much concludes our session on how to create a fantastic CV and make it stand out. I'm conscious that there may be questions, and we've only got literally 15 minutes left. So yes, I'm happy to open up to take any questions.
That was amazing, Tina. I I'm so blown away by how much insight there was. And what I love about this session is, regardless of what stage you are in your career, there's so much to take back and think about how you can amplify your CV. So thank you so much, Tina. We have started to get a couple of questions in, but just to remind everybody as we go through those, please pop your questions in the chat, and we will ensure that Tina is able to answer them. But the first question we've got is from another Tina. So Tina says, how do you manage to add all of the information mentioned in the session today? And how do you stick it to 2 pages with all of this great information in there?
Great question, Tina, my namesake. Effectively, you have to be ruthless. Too many times we want to keep everything in. You really need to be ruthless. And that's why I say, go back to the job description and pick 3 to 4 key skills that they're looking for and tailor your CV to suit. If you do it that way, you then have to look at it from the perspective of creating my CV to suit this job spec. Therefore, the job I did at Tesco's is not relevant. So I don't need to, put that in. Too often we take all that baggage we've done for so many years and we try and cram it all in. But you need to be ruthless and say, this is not showcasing the best of me or my skill set. So I'm going to part that for another row, or it's not relevant for this row. Just really be ruthless and really think about also in terms of all the different sections. As I've said, it doesn't need to be long-winded. Keep it short, keep it succinct. That's the best way that you can pack all of this in. And when I say pack, it doesn't mean you're throwing everything in. Keep it short and sweet, and simple is always best. So hopefully that's answered the question for you, Tina.
I love that. I think the way you described it, almost I visualize like valuable real estate. Those 2 pages are your opportunity to put all the valuable information that people need to see. And it goes back to the point you made around keywords and really thinking about the words that really pack a punch and that the ATS will pick up. So using the right words to kind of make sure it's seen is so important. So thank you, Tina. There's a question here from Keji that says, is it okay to hide any gaps in my employment? And what should I put in my CV in place of those gaps?
Great question, Keji. Ultimately, it's not okay to hide your gaps. I know that sometimes you feel like, oh, but I've taken 10 years away looking after the kids. It's going to look so bad on my CV. They'll think I'm just sitting on the sofa having a cup of tea all day, and it's just not going to look great. Actually, the skills that you gained looking after and raising those kids cannot be underestimated. And people actually value you to say, wow, you recognize the value in taking time out of work to dedicate for your kids. And now you want to return back into the workspace. So don't hide it, call it out, keep it brief, one-liner. And sometimes think about what were the skills that you gained. Looking after kids are not easy. Coordination, organization, there's a lot of that. So think about all of that, juggling, prioritizing, all of that are great skills that you picked up, and showcase that. So my advice to you is don't hide it, be honest, but really elevate it and think about the transferable skills you gain from it. You may have gone off on a sabbatical, you may have gone off to do a course or what have you. What did you gain from it? What's the value? So always think about the value you gain from those gaps and call it out, and the recruiter will respect you more for it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tina. We've had a few more questions come through, so we'll whiz through those really quickly. There's another question that says, in 2022, how compulsory is a LinkedIn profile? And does your LinkedIn profile link need to be on your CV?
Yes, so I'm going to answer the last question. Yes, your LinkedIn profile definitely needs to be on your CV, because it's a way that the recruiter can just instantly get a little bit more about you, because you have to remember that your CV is still the main means for applying for roles. Ultimately, it really is, and it serves the purpose of giving the recruiter the factual and the chronological snapshot of your skills, what you've gained, in order for them to say, yeah, I want to interview this person. Now, bear in mind that LinkedIn is actually more visual and it's flexible and it's interactive. So it's a different slant from that perspective. You have the opportunity here to really bring all your skills and experience to life and tell the recruiter more of a story. So that's what the LinkedIn is. The LinkedIn is more of like a story. effectively. You can add videos, you can add blogs, so you can be very creative with it. Whereas with your CV, it isn't quite like that. So in addition, by making sure that you do add your LinkedIn profile there, it can really increase your chance of being approached by the recruiter. And recruiters are using really advanced data analytical tools these days to find and engage suitable, both passive and active job seekers, because that's their job now. So they're really using it. So it's important that you always include in it and make sure that you have an up-to-date profile and frequent online activity, and just showcase all of that. So you can see that your CV and your LinkedIn are distinct and they both serve different purposes, but at the same time they complement each other. So that's why it's important to put it on your CV.
Brilliant. I love that. And actually, that's a great plug for the session we had last year on LinkedIn. So if anybody wants more tips on how to amplify your LinkedIn, check out our YouTube channel for the recording of the session from last year. We've had a question from the audience that's been sent through by Eleanor. It says, what top three fonts would you advise should be used on a CV? That's a very interesting one.
That's really interesting. I kind of touched based on this very briefly, which is keep it professional. And the most professional ones are like your Arial, your Calibri, is it Calibri? Yeah.
Calibri.
That's the Calibri. Keep it very, very professional. Don't go for those fancy ones, squiggly ones where it's all slanted and italic and what have you. Keep it simple, keep it fresh. And those are the ones that typically are quite preferred by recruiters.
Brilliant. I love me a Calibri font. It's one of my favorites. And actually, we've got a question here from Sarah Smith, and she's touched on another one of my favorites, Canva. So she says, what are your thoughts on fancy CV formats made on Canva or all of these graphic design tools?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. And the key thing there, remember the ATS, back to the ATS. No, all the Canvas and what have you, this is great, but sometimes the ATS can struggle with this. And the issue then is your CV then falls right at the bottom. Yeah, if you're not, a website designer, graphic designer, what have you, that you want to showcase what you're about, I would say, just stick to Word, keep it simple, keep it clean. Because the challenge there is you are then limiting your opportunity of being successful because you put in all these, it looks great, don't get me wrong, it looks great, but it's not going to land you that job interview. So yeah, keep it clean, keep it simple, and think about what industry or what career you're in, because some serves. Canvas is great if you're going into the website design, it showcases you can use it from that perspective. But if it's other industries, then stay well clear is what I say.
Oh, that's brilliant. Great advice. Thank you so much. We don't have any more questions, but we have a couple of lovely comments. So Nanya says, the session is so useful. Thank you so much. So thank you for sharing that through. We've also got one from Corinne that says, wow, that's amazing. So it sounds like the session's already been really helpful. Dion H says, thank you for the advice this evening, most helpful. So thank you all so much for sharing your comments and your questions. I know, Tina, you've got a bit of a summary to share, so I'll hand back over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Winnie. So just to recap, so that we're all on the same page in terms of, let me actually go back to my presentation. Just to recap so that we're all on the same page in terms of the key takeaways from today's session. And I really challenge all of you to go away, take a look at your CV with a fresh pair of eyes. You may have looked at it again and again and again, but with what you've taken away from today, and say, if I was applying for X job, and have that job description or that ideal job that you'd want to do, and ask yourself, would I call myself in for an interview based on what I see here, based on the fact that it's my personal statement, wow. And as I've said, your CV is a marketing document. You need to sell yourself. If you're not doing that, and think of it as a customer, is your customer going to buy your product? And you are the product, and you need to sell yourself. Is the customer going to buy it? And if you can genuinely say yes, the customer will buy it, then tick. You've done all the right things. If you're looking at it and you have a question mark in your CV saying, well, it's not strong enough here, then you need to go away and do some more work on it. Now, you also need to consider which CV type is suitable. We talked through the chronological, the skills-based and functional, and the combination of both. So think about that. Include the basic standards of your personal statement, your achievements, and really make it tailor it for each role. I cannot overemphasize the importance of this. We all know it's a maximum of 2 pages. And really use testimonials. This is where the magic happens. And most of all, be honest, be authentic, be true to yourself. And hopefully with that, and with the spell check-in and what you know from the ATS that we've just spoken about, you can make sure that your CV stands out and ultimately tells the employer the value that you bring and will bring to the organization. Thank you so much for joining us. Really been great having you.
Oh, honestly, I've loved all of the comments coming in talking about how amazing the session has been. So Tina, I echo everybody's sentiments when I say that was super useful, so engaging, so enlightening. There's so much in there that I personally hadn't thought about. And I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that we've all taken loads away this evening. So a massive thank you to you, Tina. I also want to thank everybody for joining this evening. If you've enjoyed the session, please do share your feedback. You'll receive a feedback form shortly after the event. We would love your anecdotes. We would love your I guess statements, what do we call it, testimonials, because when you share them with us, it makes such a big difference in how we're able to share the impact that our work is doing to get support and engagement from people like you who really want to learn. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media. We're on Instagram, where we share career tips. In between our events, we also have blog posts on our website, so please do read them. Lots of career tips and advice there for you. And all of our events are recorded on YouTube, so please subscribe to our channel and watch the previous sessions if there's any information you've missed, such as LinkedIn, which I know Tina touched on. So without further ado, I'd like to say a massive thank you to you all for coming this evening, and also a massive thank you to our Excellerate Black Futures team for everything you do. We could never do this without you. Have a wonderful evening, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you for another great event in March. We can't wait till you see what we've got in store. Have a